So we were recording this interview in the Hope Village neighborhood, where I think it was probably 3 years ago now. It was one of the first stories I did when I came to Detroit. The city wanted to use ARPA funding to create fiber optic internet that would be free for residents. 2 years later, that plan has completely gone. The person that was running that program is no longer with the city. The funding has been moved to something else entirely. And we talk a lot about the digital divide in the city. The number of people that don't have access to the internet and how that holds people back. We talk about how Detroit needs to be responding to this like new AI age that we're in. People want to talk about all the things that we're doing with autonomous vehicles and drones and technology. But I think we're pretty far away still from being able to make some of those things happen. What's your perspective on how Detroit can actually be the new Silicon Valley that Mayor Duggan has talked about before? How would you integrate technology in, what you do in the mayor's office and in the city at large, both from kind of city operations, but also from like making sure that people can get some of these tech jobs and the tech jobs come to the city.
Yeah, so I like to at least start with the digital divide. The fiber optics that they talk about being laid, nobody understands that, not even our mayor, Mike Duggan. First of all, Mark Hudson, when Google was laying fiber, convinced Dan Gilbert to start Rocket Fiber. Me and him talked about it before Dan picked him up. These conversations I've been part of and behind the scenes of, and Dan Gilbert doesn't even know, for over 10 plus years. And so when it comes to the digital divide, Henry County and a great lady by the name of Tracy Lloyd is down there doing some great work in Georgia when it comes to the digital divide. And so I understand where the best practices and the best models are around the country and around the nation and around the world, and I can bring them here. And so there will be no senior and no and or anyone with any disability left out, because I'm all about disability equity and making sure everyone gets included in the plan. But lastly, I will say this. When you look at the ecosystem of technology, when you look at drones and advanced air mobility, and when you look at how we can become a state of the art and world class city with light rail or a better mobility and transportation system, or when you just look at having a bus stop with shelter, because we have very few sheltered bus stops,
Yeah.
and having Wi-Fi there, you need someone that can bring in the right vendors, bring in the right companies, and bring in the right type of infrastructure and knows how to lay it down very systematically so that we don't get double the cost and have to rip up anything we already done. When you build technology or when you build infrastructure, just like when you build a house, you can't paint the wall before you run the electricity. There's a process to it. And so if you don't understand that mapping, we very well could be in a 10 to 20 to 30, 50 year uh spending to take us nowhere. And I say that because that if you look at our health systems, they're still using technology that's probably located in their basement. And so you just got to have a leader that understands the full gamut, understands the full picture, and no other candidate really understands blockchain, AI, and understands the citizen dashboard. And everything that I'm doing for counties and municipalities already is built on technology that makes everything transparent and holds leaders accountable. So if you don't get somebody like me ASAP, we're going to get into a spending or have a leader in there that can cover things up, and then we get back into bankruptcy. We don't need that, Detroit.
I'm one of those people who doesn't really understand how this works. I need you to explain to me a little bit more. The city is using, they're accepting crypto payments now. And they're also, I think there was a competition that was launched recently to find good uses of blockchain technology. Since you mentioned blockchain, I'm curious kind of what you think we could be doing with that specifically.
Well, again, I'm working on right now. Get this. Right now, none of the citizens right now own any of their data. Let's just say that.
Yeah.
I can't really talk to the founder that, is running a business. If anybody wants to know, go find Rachel with Elroy Technologies. She should be able to educate you on everything around privacy. She's a privacy lawyer, but she's a founder right here in the city of Detroit. And we're helping her do things, but also helping her with municipalities. And so what I will say is this. When you use blockchain technology or when you approach things from a user perspective and not a capitalistic or corporate perspective, you ultimately get a very clean system and you get accountability because everything that the user does and everything that the organization does to interface with it gets opened up. And so we don't want anything guarded. I only want to lay a foundation, and everything that the city is currently doing is still built off of multiple systems. I'm talking about converging everything to one system so that we're very streamlined, and therefore you can come in to the city website, get incentives for DTE bills, clean up your neighborhood, get a reward for that, and then go possibly use that in a property tax situation, or to possibly wipe your application fee for some type of Detroit Works program or something else. It's all it in China, they have a status system.
Yeah. Social equity score, I think is something what's called.
We're headed there because technology is going to eliminate jobs so much to whereas we need people giving back to community. That's where the future is. That's where nobody's talking. That's why you need a leader like me.
A lot of people are freaked out by that score that you get because it affects what you're able to do in society, right?
Yeah,
Do you understand why people are freaked out by that?
people get this. Everybody has to be a stakeholder and give input into the future. And so when you look at a scoring system or anything like that, you got to remember that when we use technology or when we approach the system from a very equitable perspective, we can make sure that we weed out anything that creates favoritism and nepotism. And that's what Detroit is currently in.
Hmm.
It's in a cycle of favoritism and nepotism that doesn't let the cream rise to the top. And ultimately, people take and take. And that's why we have $1 million departments with $1,000 results.
You're saying though we're heading in this direction, not necessarily you want to implement like a
Yeah, yeah,
social
yeah. We're
credit
not going to
score for
implement it. We're
Detroit.
we're not going to implement social status or a social
Yeah.
system immediately. But what I am saying is incentivize people for living here. Incentivize people for being good neighbors, cleaning up their neighborhood, reporting when potholes take place, reporting when signs are down, making sure that we create more public safety in order to make sure that we can give rewards and help them out because they're doing what is necessary to relieve the city of capacity because we only have 2,500 police officers. We only have so many firefighters and so many other service employees on the street. So we have to all chip in, and that's what I'm going to create a village concept and a village approach.